It all began when HOA Karen, in another reckless display of entitlement, cut my fence. She claimed it was necessary to assert control over property she had no right to, and, in typical fashion, threw a party on the property immediately afterward. What she did not realize was that the fence was not merely decorative. It served as a critical wildlife barrier, protecting endangered species and maintaining ecological balance on my ranch. Her audacious actions would immediately trigger consequences she could never have imagined. From the moment the fence was cut, every detail was meticulously documented. Security cameras captured Karen sneaking onto the property, wielding tools to damage the fence, and laughing as she organized her party. Audio recordings preserved her boasting and threats as she attempted to justify her reckless behavior. Prior incidents of harassment, trespass, and audacious interference were compiled into a comprehensive dossier, clearly showing a pattern of entitlement and recklessness. Karen assumed that fear, ignorance, or compliance would allow her actions to succeed, but she was about to discover that audacity without preparation or foresight is destined to fail. The consequences were immediate. Not only had Karen destroyed property, but her actions directly endangered the wildlife the fence was meant to protect. Local environmental authorities were quickly alerted, and inspectors arrived within hours to assess the damage. Karen's audacious interference had escalated from a petty violation to a serious legal and ecological matter. Her attempts to justify herself fell flat in the face of clear evidence. Security footage, audio recordings, and expert assessments confirmed her reckless behavior and the environmental harm it caused. Karen tried to escalate further, calling neighbors, HOA members, and even attempting to involve the media to spin the story in her favor. Each effort, however, was systematically dismantled. Evidence of her trespass, property destruction, and reckless disregard for wildlife was indisputable. The audacious act she believed would assert control now became permanent evidence of incompetence, recklessness, and illegal interference. Within days, she faced criminal charges and fines, leaving her audacity fully neutralized. To prevent future interference, permanent measures were implemented. Security cameras, reinforced fencing, and legal notices were installed to ensure that Karen could no longer trespass or endanger the property. The wildlife barrier was fully restored under the supervision of ecological experts, and every audacious act she had attempted became documented evidence of recklessness and entitlement gone wrong. Her credibility within the community collapsed completely, and her attempts at intimidation and manipulation were permanently neutralized. Neighbors and the wider community quickly became aware of the incident. Karen's repeated audacious attempts to interfere, manipulate, and assert authority without legal standing were publicly exposed. Observers immediately recognized the principle. Audacity without preparation, legal authority, or strategic foresight inevitably fails when confronted with evidence, law, and expertise. Karen had assumed that fear, ignorance, or compliance would follow her actions. Instead, she discovered that reckless interference meets immediate, unavoidable, and humiliating consequences. In the days following the incident, calm returned to the property. Karen's audacity had been decisively neutralized, leaving her exposed, powerless, and publicly humiliated. The fence was fully repaired, wildlife secured, and legal protections ensured no future interference. Her repeated entitlement, reckless interference, and audacious behavior became a cautionary tale for the entire community. By the end of the week, the ranch was serene, secure, and fully under lawful control. Karen's audacity had been decisively defeated, leaving her exposed, powerless, and permanently shamed. Every observer understood the principle. Attempts to manipulate, intimidate, or assert authority without preparation, legal knowledge, or strategic foresight inevitably backfire. Karen had been exposed, powerless, and permanently humbled, leaving the property safe, fully protected, and entirely under rightful authority.